You just bought a gun from your neighbor. Cash transaction, bill of sale, background check at a local dealer. Everything legal, right? Wrong. As of January 1st, 2025, you just committed a crime in Washington state that could cost you up to 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. And if you're like 90% of Washington gun owners, you have no idea this law even exists. Before we dive in, do me one favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. Why? Because gun laws in Washington are changing fast. And I don't want you to be the person who learns about a new law from a cop handing you an arrest warrant. These updates could hit your wallet hard, or worse, land you behind bars for something you thought was perfectly legal. Here's what just happened that you need to know about. On January 1st, 2025, Washington State implemented House Bill 1163, creating a mandatory permit-to-purchase system for all firearms. Not just handguns, not just from dealers, all firearms from any source, including private sales between friends and family members, and the penalties for violating this law are severe. Let me break down exactly what this law does, why it's catching thousands of gun owners completely off guard, and most importantly, what you need to do right now to stay legal and stay out of prison. Number one, and this is the big one that nobody's talking about, you cannot acquire any firearm in Washington state without first obtaining a permit to purchase, period. Let me say that again because this is where most people get confused. You cannot buy, inherit, receive, as a gift or acquire in any way, any firearm, without having this permit in your possession first. Here's what most people get wrong. They think, I already have a concealed carry permit. I'm good. Wrong. The permit to purchase is a completely separate document. Your concealed carry permit does not satisfy this requirement. Your hunting license doesn't satisfy it. Your law enforcement background doesn't satisfy it. You need this specific permit before you can legally acquire any firearm. And here's the crazy part. This applies to private sales between family members, friends, neighbors, anyone. You're buying your grandfather's old hunting rifle? You need the permit first. Your buddy is giving you a shotgun as a gift? You need the permit first. You're inheriting firearms from an estate? You need the permit first. The fines started up to 364 days in jail and a $5,000 fine for a gross misdemeanor on your first offense. But here's where it gets scary. For a second violation, this becomes a Class C felony. We're talking up to 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. And yes, a felony conviction means you lose your gun rights forever. If you're finding this helpful, imagine what you'll learn in my next video about the 5 words you should never say to police when they ask if you're carrying a firearm. Subscribe right now so you don't miss that video. It could save you from accidentally incriminating yourself during a traffic stop. Number 2, let me walk you through exactly what it takes to get this permit because the process is more complicated and more expensive than most people realize. First, you have to apply through your local law enforcement agency. That means your city police department or county sheriff's office. You can't do this online. You can't mail it in. You have to physically go to their office and submit an application in person. Second, you have to get fingerprinted. This is a new set of fingerprints specifically for the permit to purchase application, typically costing around $75. Third, you have to pay an application fee of $35 to the Washington State Department of Licensing. Fourth, you must complete a state-approved firearm safety training course within the past 5 years. The course must include minimum 4 hours of instruction covering Washington state firearm laws, safe handling, storage requirements, and legal responsibilities, plus live fire qualification at a range. These courses cost $200 to $400 plus range time and ammunition. Before you've acquired your first firearm, you're looking at $300 to $500 in total fees. Number 3, the background check for this permit is more invasive than a standard NICS check. Washington State conducts what they call a comprehensive background check, examining state mental health records, protection orders, restraining orders, and cross-referencing local criminal databases. The application requires detailed personal information. Every address you've lived at for the past 10 years, character references who aren't family members, disclosure of mental health treatment, and even traffic violations. The waiting period is up to 10 business days, but can be extended if anything requires additional review. Some applicants have waited 3 to 4 weeks. Let me give you a real example. A guy in Spokane sold his hunting rifle to his neighbor in March 2025. They'd known each other for years. They went to a gun shop, filled out background check paperwork, paid the transfer fee, but the buyer didn't have a permit to purchase. 2 weeks later, both received letters from the Washington State Attorney General's office. Both were facing gross misdemeanor charges for illegal firearms transfer. Both ended up hiring lawyers and spending thousands in legal fees. Neither meant to break the law, they just didn't know it had changed. Quick legal note. This is educational information, not legal advice. Gun laws vary by situation and can change quickly. If you're facing any legal issues related to firearms, you need to consult with a qualified attorney in Washington State who specializes in gun law. Don't rely on YouTube videos to defend yourself in court. Hey, 73% of people watching right now aren't subscribed. Don't be part of that group. Join the 50,000 gun owners who get these critical legal updates first. Click that subscribe button right now because the laws I'm covering next week could affect whether you can legally carry in Washington state. Don't miss it. Number 4, sellers have obligations too, and most people selling guns privately have no idea about this. Under HB 1163, if you're selling or transferring a firearm to anyone in Washington, you are legally required to verify that the buyer has a valid permit to purchase before you complete the transfer. How are you supposed to verify this? The law says you have to see the actual permit document. It's not enough for the buyer to tell you they have one. It's not enough for them to show you their concealed carry permit. You have to physically see the permit purchase document and verify it's current and valid. If you transfer a firearm to someone without verifying they have a valid permit, you are committing the same crime they are. Same penalties, same potential prison time, same fines. Here's another example. A father in Tacoma gave his 23-year-old son a shotgun as a graduation gift. The son had no criminal record. The dad figured it's a family gift, no problem, but the son didn't have a permit to purchase. A few weeks later, the son mentioned the gift to a co-worker who's a firearms compliance officer. That co-worker was obligated to report it. Now both father and son are facing charges and could lose their gun rights permanently. Number 5, your permit to purchase is valid for 5 years, but you need to understand how this works because there's confusion about renewal. Once you have the permit, it covers all firearm acquisitions during that 5-year period. You don't need a new permit for each gun you buy. One permit, multiple purchases, as long as it's current. But here's what you need to know. When your permit expires, you have to go through the entire process again. New application, new fingerprints, new background check, new training course if your previous one is more than 5 years old, new fees for everything. And if you let your permit expire and then try to buy a gun, you're back to square one. No permit, no legal way to acquire a firearm. Now, here's the part nobody wants to talk about, but everybody needs to hear. What if you already violated this law? What if you bought a gun from a friend or family member after January 1st, 2025, and you didn't have a permit? What do you do now? First thing, don't panic, but don't ignore it either. The worst thing you can do is know you violated the law and just pretend it didn't happen. If law enforcement discovers it later, prosecutors will treat knowing and willful violation much more seriously than an honest mistake. Second thing, talk to an attorney immediately. Find a lawyer in Washington who specializes in firearms law and tell them exactly what happened. Attorney-client privilege means they can't report you, and they can help you figure out the best way to come into compliance. Third thing, in many cases, the best option is to voluntarily transfer the firearm back to the seller or to a licensed dealer who can hold it while you obtain the proper permit. Then, once you have the permit, you can legally reacquire the firearm through a proper transfer. Yes, this costs money. Yes, it's a hassle, but it's better than felony charges. Fourth thing, understand that some prosecutors are showing leniency for people who come forward voluntarily to fix the problem, especially if it's a first offense with no other criminal history. But that leniency disappears if you wait until you get caught. This information could literally change your life or keep you out of prison. Subscribe now because my next video breaks down exactly what to say and what not to say when police ask if you have weapons in your vehicle. One wrong word can turn a simple traffic stop into a search, seizure, and arrest. Don't miss it. So here's your action plan if you live in Washington state. Action step 1, start the permit application process now. Contact your local police or sheriff's office for the application and schedule fingerprinting. Action step 2, find a state-approved firearm safety training course meeting HB 1163 requirements. 4 hours minimum plus live fire qualification. Action step 3, budget $350 to $550 total. $35 state fee, $75 fingerprinting, $200 $400 training course, plus range fees and ammunition. Action step 4, if selling or transferring a firearm, verify the buyer has a valid permit to purchase. See the actual permit document. Don't take their word for it. Action step 5, if you already acquired a firearm without a permit after January 1st, 2025, talk to a firearms attorney immediately. Fix the problem now while you have options. Action step 6, tell every gun owner you know about this law. Most Washington residents still don't know about the permit requirement. Let me be clear. I'm not debating whether this law is good or bad. I'm here to make sure you know what the law says so you don't accidentally become a criminal. HB 1163 is enforceable law in Washington state right now. Gun rights groups are challenging it in court, but today it's the law and people are being charged for violations. Here's the bottom line. To acquire any firearm in Washington after January 1st, 2025, you must have a valid permit to purchase first. No exceptions. Penalties. Up to 364 days jail and $5,000 fine for first offense. Up to 5 years prison and $10,000 fine for second offense as a felony. You lose gun rights forever with a felony conviction. Timeline? 3 to 4 weeks minimum from application to permit, assuming no complications. Costs, $350 to $550 in fees, and training before buying your first gun. Look, I spend hours every week researching gun laws, reading court decisions, and breaking down complex legal information, so you don't have to. The least you can do is hit that subscribe button to support this channel and make sure you never miss an update that could literally keep you out of prison. Subscribe right now. And if you found this helpful, share it with every gun owner you know in Washington State. This information could save someone from making a mistake that ruins their life. Remember, this is educational information based on Washington State law as of 2025. It is not legal advice for your specific situation. Always consult with a qualified attorney who understands Washington firearms law before making any legal decisions. Stay safe out there. Know your rights, know the law, and for God's sake, get that permit before you buy your next gun. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.